Okay, this is Sunday the 11th of August, and we're doing a Creative Life podcast to share, but also help us feel more of prophecy to ourselves, yeah.
For this week and for this time where we are and what we're creating from.
Yes.
And shed some light on, because this time of year it's kind of overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit confusing.
This is the middle part of our working on our show, in the middle of even an individual piece or the length of gathering up the materials and the ideas for a show is that middle part is always a little more challenging.
Yeah, and so we're doing this so that we can take the challenge out.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to talk about that, and we're going to read from pieces that will lift up and help create some clarity for us about this middle time. This is Sunday, August 11th. August 11th, 2019. And we've already had our morning sangha, and we've done the menu for the week. And we've already done our yoga and kind of sat inside of a Creative Life piece that we already did called Prophecy to Yourself.
Oh, and by the way, this is Robert and
Suzanne
doing the Creative Life Show.
And we're sitting in the side garden, which is the night sky garden, and it's a pollinator garden, and we're sitting in our red swing. And
hoping to be pollinated by ideas. That's why we're here.
And the flowers are so tall right now; they're much taller than us, and
we feel like we've shrunk.
Yes,
we've become the wee folk.
And Sandra, part of our family, said she felt like Alice here, and it is very much of that. And it's almost like all at once being shrunk. We feel quite shrunk right now, and shrunk and made small. In order to enter a space where you turn things upside down and inside out to understand better what you need to know.
So.
That's quite big.
So you're right on the cusp with us as we explore this whole
we got a poem here.
Oh, okay.
That Robert wrote. I think it's,
You want me to read it?
Yeah, I want you to read it. That's part of the message to us.
It's called Never Been. Never been this starlight so close. Never been this magic sparkling like water. Never been this incredible makeup of bone and brain and heart. Never been this flame glowing so close you could reach out and touch it. Never been such a way with words and language and depth of unfolding nature. Never been this present of a person like you are. Never been an art piece such as you, with your fingers sending out ribbons of color, bundles of stone and wood and fiber. Never been a keeper of the nesting dolls as you are. Never been someone who guardians the guardians with such attention to the flow of consciousness that you bend and fold and accordion yourself the distance needed to complete each day as the gift it becomes as it becomes. Gratitude, gratefulness, and an abiding love that you, my beloved, exist with your light so close I can actually reach out and touch my dream of a life of the shooting star I have always wished upon. And that is a poem to my sweet Suzanne, and what she means to me, and what our life together means, and the muse of creativity, and how it is wrapped around us and given us a gift, and how we are a guardianship for that gift, and how we love to express and share it, even in this deep, mysterious
this
part.
Day. This day you've gathered me up with this poem, because I have felt really scattered in many layers and working on way too many multitasking than I need as a creative person. And thank you. Thank you so much. You're welcome. That had so much grace in it for me.
Thank you.
And I so appreciate it.
It's like sometimes in our lives and in our creative imaginings and the work we do in a daily task that we feel like the asterisks that you put on a note piece to bring focus to it. But it's like we're at the center of the asterisk, and it's three-dimensional instead of two. And so it feels a little scattering when there are all these multiple rays of potentiality going out in every single direction. And so we have to take a deep breath. And that's good for all of us. It's good for you in your studios. It's good for us in ours.
We're working with new pieces. New pieces that we don't even know quite how they all connect. And we don't know quite what this new show is, which is really very much the way it is every year.
Kind of like stringing beads.
Yeah, and here we are in the garden like two children, and we're working with how do we work with also bringing forward the children's world, or the creative, that supports the creative spirit of the child. How do we bring this out into the world? And I think we'll read this page to help ourselves.
Okay.
Susanna's world is a world of fairies, trees, flowers, and feelings. Susanna's world is a rest from the refusal of real. She loves all that she feels and plays with all she sees. Susanna is a petite girl of 10, and she loves French clothes
and English tea.
She plays in a world of color where her intuitive is free to be who she is.
Susanna is a child who knows. Susanna is a child who values what is important to her. Susanna's world is a round world, and all the colors are free to be as bright and as dark as they want.
And I think in this, as we were writing this book, it's not just our daughter's world, but it was our world too that we were fighting for, the child in us.
Yeah.
She plays with the points and measures of words and turns them into feelings, and she has lots of help from her friends.
These friends always care what she wants, and they always help her with her creativity.
She is an artist and knows that her art comes from inside, so she never closes the door to her heart, which she calls her heart of gold. Her heart of gold is always listening to her dream.
Her dream is big and wonderful, and it includes all she loves. She is a dreamer.
And that she receives from her heart of gold, who dreamed the dream of her dreaming. She has big brown eyes, olive skin, chestnut hair, which she wears long. She loves the sun and the sea, and she paints the sun and the sea above and below.
She stories each painting into meaning, and loves to share it with all her friends. In Susanna's world, her heart of gold bear is her wise advisor. He loves her heart of gold and guides her to its dream.
Yes, he is what she would say is a guiding bear. He is yellow with Mr. Peeper glasses and purple trousers, red suspenders and a red vest and a little beret.
He wears a backpack on his back where he carries all of his toys of creativity. His name is Bouton d'Or, which is French for buttercup or little gold buttons.
And here in this book we've written, it's for all of us, is we're introducing the whole concept of introspection, going inside, that's what bears are for, and a muse. And the muse is a bear, and bears are all about the depth of going inside. The backpack is about being able to take your whole world with you everywhere you go. Okay.
Buttercups are his favorite flowers because they are the beauty of all that is inside. They support the shy, quiet child, like Susanna, who loves being alone in her time within.
Susanna is not too shy, but she loves time with herself and her world within. And this is what, children need to know, that there are times they really want to be alone. They want to be inside their own world, and we should honor that. And it's not because they're so shy that they can't interact. It's because they need this introspection time.
Mm-hmm.
Bhutan Dior is so introspective, and that means he goes inside to make things real. Here we're showing that for everyone, especially the child, that when they need to go inside, they are going inside to solidify their life, make more foundation for it.
He goes inside Susanna's heart of gold where her dream resides and comes out with more ideas to make it real. This is how bears are in the nature of things.
Bhutan Dior carries all kinds of things in his pack. You see, he is an artist, writer bear, who loves books and colors and flowers and fairies and music and tea by the sea.
In Susanna's world, the real of you is important. Her relationship with all she meets is round instead of flat.
Susanna and Bhutan have many days of adventures into the worlds of tea, music, flowers, books, and art.
They love Georgia O'Keeffe and her introspective window to flowers.
So here we're starting to stretch it a bit and introduce children to other artists and writers and people that have had to go inside and have had to look inside the depth of what introspection is and what bear is. And that's totemic.
Mm-hmm.
And they love poetry and rhyme and funny stories like Maurice Sendak's Where the Wild Things Are. They love Beatrice Potter. Now I'm referring to Susanna and Bhutan.
Mm-hmm.
And her gentle expression of animals. She brings their round sound into our world because the whole sound around the Gaia and the animals is not so edgy. It is more round and flowing. Susanna's favorite artist is herself, and that's the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
She loves the fun of painting with her mama and papa, who are artists also. Here she feels the fun of round ideas and talents.
Inside Bhutan's backpack are paints, brushes, canvas, and a journal. He never goes anywhere without his journal because he never knows when he'll be inspired.
And this is really setting up a whole foundation for us and the child, that these are the things that you put in the backpack that can become anything. And so if you bring your paintbrushes and a small journal or a little canvas, that you always have something to do creatively. And that always is very inspiring and healing for us.
He has large pockets on his jacket so he can always carry a small book to read. This way he is never waiting.
This really helps with this world because I think that one of the biggest things in this world is the frustration of waiting. And so here is starting to build a way to move out of the frustration for children and all of us by bringing creative things like books and paints and things that we can do instead of being the victim of waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Susanna loves Bhutan Dior's fun with her imagination. In her world, he is always more. In Susanna's world, there is so much to learn and do. There is so much not yet felt, and so much not yet known, that the reason for life is great. And I think this is for all of us at all ages,
Mm-hmm.
is that as long as we're curious, as long as we stay curious, and as long as we always want to reach in deeper, we'll always have a life and a life to live for.
Yeah. Bhutan Dior is her guiding bear through all the world of life as it unfolds for Susanna to be the real of herself.
And so as we have children, and as we were children and still have children inside of us, if we keep our curiosity alive and honor it in our children, and allow lots of things to be in the home to actually involve that curiosity, it will help expand our life.
Mm-hmm. She has many questions, so there are many answers. She wonders, how does one know and feel what is real and what is not?
These are very good questions, Bhutan Dior tells her, because she is learning introspection. So we're putting the foundation of what introspection is and what kind of questions are within that world.
What a big word and what a big opportunity Bhutan knows, because he is a bear and bears are the introspectors of life. Bhutan is definitely a bear of introspection. What is introspection? Asks Susanna.
In fact, that's what a lot of us ask. Where is it when we really enter that, and what does it feel like?
Introspection is going inside to see what is real and what is not, to make more for life.
So we can expand our life by taking time to have introspection. And then it actually gives us an expanded way of seeing ourselves and what we can do. Susanna is now 10, and this is her time of introspection. This is her time to feel and learn what it is to be real and know how and what the difference is.
Bhutan Dior is a writer and an artist, so he sets to work to create a way to show Susanna the difference in color and line and word, so she can see the difference too.
So a lot of times when we begin to actually create, we actually expand ideas and actually get answers. And so in that, then that integrates what introspection is.
And I think it's interesting too that when you are beginning to see the difference in color and line and word, that as you begin to create, or you're on a new project or just starting out, what you are faced with is your own expression is different, and you have to start becoming comfortable with being different, because your lines and colors and words are going to be different than other people's, and that's part of the fabric of things.
The real of you is where he starts. From the rest, real unfolds. Because if there is a real of you, then there is a place of real. Place for you to be. If there is a place of real, there must be a reason for why some thoughts are real and some thoughts are not.
So much led to another that Susanna's world within unfolded book after book. Each book unfolded another question and another answer.
The dream to be became the life of Susanna's day. Susanna became a child of difference, with many new ways of looking and seeing what it was that made her happy. And here we're kind of bringing it together, that the difference is good for a child to know, and that in that there's so much exploring to be done.
So we ended the book with that, of what makes her happy. And so now she's on an adventure of exploration to find her own voice, find her own courage, find her own enthusiasms,
Her own realness,
her own perseverance.
what
all
words
that
are
makes
real and
her
ones are
up.
not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
No, that is something that really we wrote for our daughter, but it applies to us and it applies to everyone. How do you jump inside the middle of yourself and find out who and what you are, and that as you begin to express it from listening to your muse or your inside voice compass, what story is it telling you?
Well, this book is a book that gives children and adults a rounded way of seeing the world that does not flatten the sound of dreams. And so all our lives we're having to round off the flat, and we're having to continue to roll and flow from one part of our life to another part of our life, and it's not flat where we just fall off. And so that's a big important part of why we've written these books. It was created in collaboration with our daughter, Susanna Woodbury, and it's it's part of today somehow.
Yeah, it is part of today,
It's one of the pieces right now
we
that we're in
wanted
the
to
middle
share it
of.
with you.
So we're realizing that even though this is so-called serious art show,
Hmm.
that we're doing, actually we've done already 8 or 9 large pieces, that in it, Susanna's world and its needs don't stop either.
No.
And we are also looking inside to find the language of this world, uh, how we share it. And we've created books,
So
and
it's just in this kind of a creative life, and we're sharing this with you guys because you would be listening to this show most likely because you have an interest in some way about it. That as you explore it, you look for, or we do, and I feel that you probably do too, is you look for signals, both internal signals
yeah,
and signals on the outside that help kind of focus you in onto a particular path or a particular idea or segue you from one space into another. This morning when we were out and Suzanne was doing her yoga out in the garden, she saw a really large bird fly overhead and realized that it was a bald eagle. Well, that's not an everyday occurrence, and it's so for us that's very auspicious. And eagles are about a larger, bigger picture. They have an overview because the height of their flight.
they're also in the story. They're about taking something small and taking it um, into a great height.
Yeah.
Of the story of the eagle and the little wren and the race and the little wren hiding in the wings of the eagle and then going up higher than the eagle. So it's like, if you got a big picture now, it's like, how can you take it higher?
Yeah.
How can you make it even bigger? And sometimes that's kind of overwhelming.
It is overwhelming.
Is that you feel like you work so hard to create a big picture, and then you come to another year and it's a little picture.
Yeah.
The big picture has become little because it's got to expand to another big picture, and that is the world of Alice.
That's the nesting doll effect too.
Yeah.
You know, the one doll, the beginning doll is the small one, and then the next one encompasses it, and it's yet a little bit bigger, and it goes on and on and on through the series of the embodiment of what that's about. So that's what happens to us every year.
That was a big picture. We wrote the books, we drew the books, we painted the books, we photographed, we lived inside the books.
And now we put them
integrated
online.
The books. The books were a real life, and we made them into books, and we put them online. And now, and that felt very big.
That was huge.
It felt like a huge story. And now all at once it's little again.
Yeah.
And we're kind of overwhelmed. Is how do we need an eagle to take this one up and help us see even the bigger picture than we already see.
Oh, and just as a little sidebar here, since we're talking about this book, this particular one is Susanna's World Within. If you go online, you can look and go to blurb.com and type in Clarity Artists, then you'll find our books there, and we have the series of Susanna's World books.
But they are
there.
online.
But they're also on our website,
SigillaCodex.com.
SigillaCodex.com.
Yeah.
So either way, you can.
But the whole
concept
that's what's really been fogging me is that we've done so much work with this, and all at once, it felt big in our world.
Yeah.
But it feels really little in the outside world.
Yeah.
And we feel dwarfed, and we don't know what to do with it.
Fish.
And I know. Oh my
Trees.
gosh, we aren't the first artists to go through this.
No.
But we're
talking
sharing
about
it.
things that you are probably very comfortable knowing about because you've run up against them as well. And how to work our way through these things.
So we're in the middle of thinking we were a large picture, and then finding out
that we're a small picture.
That we're a small picture, and that we have to somehow
Enlarge
expand into another large picture. And an eagle, it's like what will take us up.
Yeah.
to the bigger picture. That we need help with that. We feel like, what else are we capable of? And
Yeah.
and that's a mystery to us right now.
Yeah.
Let's read something else. Let's
Okay.
see. We can't really. Can you see it, honey?
Let's see. We're
Just
kind of...
find something there and we'll read it.
Okay, let's try... Here's a poem. Is that okay?
Uh-huh.
Called Almost Another. Almost another month at the end of this one. Almost another time. An era. An eon. These months endless from winter to spring. Almost another person. Us changing into something other than what we were back there in the cold of the dark.
Oh, that's so perfect.
Another face towards the sun's warmth. We thaw and melt away that frostiness, the icy breath. Hello, you say. Another new greeting, springing from your lips. Held breath, no longer apropos. Unburied, we stretch out and beyond the covers of our winter's retreat. Open your mouth, greet your new April with a fond hello. So that's kind of what we're having to do as we do each new year. We're having to wake up again and say hello to this new era, this new eon, this new moment that we're in. And how do we express the story of who we are and all the elements that make us up and all the things that we have in common that we want to share. So you see the commonality of compassion and warmth and lovingness and how to express it out in the world.
Okay. That's perfect,
Yeah.
Robert. That was
Thank
absolutely
you.
perfect.
So we're creating these shows to inform our own selves, and then sharing that information as it comes to us as we talk, because this is all just happening on the spur of the moment.
Well, and that's what the spontaneous is what we're after.
Yeah.
That's why we do the
And life is
creative life,
spontaneous.
is that we want to come to the spontaneous, to something we haven't already sit inside of, or in a new angle, an angle that maybe is more rounded, that we can actually take a square perspective and we can make it round.
Yes.
And then we open it up. I'm going to read this part.
Okay.
What I wrote a piece called "My Life Within a Plan."
You turn that sideways and the text will become bigger.
Oh,
well, I
thank
think,
you.
well, maybe not.
I don't know.
That's pretty tiny text. She's going to give it a go, though. It'll help
My
it all.
life within a plan. To understand.
One's life.
Okay, you can
It's
read it.
really little.
I
Let's
have
see
to get
here.
glasses.
To understand one's life, I have come to believe that one must live within it a good while. Time must come and go many levels and layers for the feeling of one's heart to become available. I have begun to believe in my own ways, words, feelings, and ideas in a weft and warp that creates a weave I love, because I have also learned to wait. And that's not an easy thing to do. To wait is a gift time gives us if we will only reach into the drawer of imagination. I have had many years with my hands in all the drawers of mystery. Excuse me. She's gone off to fetch a pair of glasses. I'm glad to read it, but I love it when she reads it herself. So I'll read slowly so she has time to come back and you get to hear her voice. Oh, good, I did a good job. I'll read this one paragraph and then she can start the rest. When I was a child, I used to have at the foot of my dreaming bed a chest of drawers, blue like the sea. It had 5 drawers, and there she goes. And before, right there.
I had 5 drawers before I could sleep. I had to arrange them in an aligned order of repose. This, as the usual rituals of childhood, was threaded into my love and desire for the safe night journey of all those I loved. When all the drawers were finally straight, I could hop in bed and allow myself to journey off, knowing that all I loved was set into a safe boat with upright sails and sturdy floors. Screen doors were like sieves that allowed current to flow in and out of homes and dreams and stories. I always saw stories around them, and I dreamt of voices that spoke through them and threads that sewed into them, pierced by the needle of time. A life within a plan is one that gives generously to story and allows the threads of living to penetrate the screen it is laid upon, like a sieve that will reclaim the pieces large enough to make a tale to live within. I have followed many patterns of my own making and have found them an intricate part of the plan I live within. I feel many things that fill the sleeves of my arms and body of my heart. All this I often have to remind myself is all part of the dream I have planned to live. This plan was way before I was born. It is not for me to figure out, but gently follow and allow it to flow. I engage my creative expressions as what I place onto the screen doors, and they become the passageways to the depth of dream I seek to know. I enter the flavor of my life through thread and paint and ink, and I work the threads into the speed of paint as the depth of ink. Can you read some more?
Mm-hmm. Where are you right here?
Right there, the intense motion.
The intense motion of my own creativity comes from the color conception of all my dreaming. I dream in color most often, rarely in black and white, even as a small child. Now I am aware of color even in what I don't see. I am aware of color in a way of knowing rather than feeling alone. I am reminiscent of color even in a plan that commands black and white as its resonance. I wear black. I write in black on white. I crave black and white like food that gives color to my world. Place and feeling both collaborate to fill me with the grace that color gives to my creativity. I promise myself to be present to the intensity that color is and the passion that fills my veins with forward movement. I internalize what I conceive, and I move to nurture it in the womb of my patience. Once birth is imminent, I relocate speed, and the patience becomes the intensity of need. Within the plan there is a cycle, and the cycle is the evolutionary process held within birth, the evolvement of utero and the water motion of evolving development with the womb of cycle. To present purpose in the full evidence of relationship is to be able to concentrate the flavor of existence. This flavor can only be extracted from a passion with trust. I am so used to trusting others that I have not as yet learned well to trust myself in the deepest of ways. I've had to open myself to the same courage I needed to begin now to finish. This rarity of words always comes, but the amount of trust needed is always the same. I did not come to this realization early, but late, and I have found that the white rabbit really does blame it on Alice. That is an incredible statement.
Oh, here we are with
oh
the
my
Alice.
gosh.
Yeah.
Time does not escape itself, and if we only want to keep track of it, our life is useless, because it is always late. In the cycle of pattern, I don't always find a repeat, and in fact there is an unerring skip that meters us to a new rhythm, a new level, a new cycle. Held within pattern is the clear resonance of potential, and the radiant life of each line is given the full memory of what it is to be trusted, let go of, and allowed freedom. Life held within pattern turns on its own world, and the remedy for reason is not cause and effect. All is not seen at every moment, so the cause and the effect don't follow each other through reason, but trust. I wait for the time of reason. One will be like, if one waits for the time of reason, one will be like the white rabbit, late and then try to blame it on Alice. Alice is the pattern, and only she knows the time it takes, the turn it makes, and the identity it has. That is awesome.
This plan within my own life I have not always trusted with the distance of time. And I too have blamed it on Alice. But I have learned that if I trust her, she will turn my life upside down and right side up in a way that others still may see as wrong side out. The writings of my life have been secured only by my willingness to my hand and the mind. Let's see right here, is in wonder of it all. Oh, it's this little line that moves. I didn't get that.
There you go.
So the writings of my life have been secured only by my willingness to trust the word that comes to my hand, and the mind is in wonder of it all. Within the pattern of my own writing is a recurrent theme of fiber, pulse, and mystery. I think we have some things outside starting to move around here, the lawnmowers and the cars.
And the chainsaw.
Yeah.
Welcome to the organic world of
our
creativity.
Backyard, sitting in the red swing. I wonder at times where the fiber of thought unravels from or weaves into, but in time I have felt I have begun to understand. The future unravels many things from our unwillingness to see what is yet in the mold. The past pushes through the lid, and the present pours us into the vision within the mold of time, and I have learned to accept the vision even though I don't always see how it fits or creates current for my life. I think that's all we'll read from this piece.
But this
that
is
was
showing
just
that is incredible with
we've
the
been
plan.
talking about feeling like Alice.
Yeah.
And this piece.
So this keeps coming forward.
Yeah, and that's what doing this podcast does. It's like pieces pop out. We don't even know. We talk about what we're talking about, and then we pull up pieces, and it's intuitively, but they actually very coherently speak to our need.
They do.
And this happens not just to Robert and I. Happens to everyone.
Yeah,
If you take the time to allow things to the patterns, the puzzles to start putting themselves together to make this bigger picture. And if you're a writer, you could go from all kinds of different things you've written and see how they come into place in a time where you fill in the middle and you don't know where to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, really, really cool.
So I think we may be close to the end of this particular podcast. We do want to do more of them because I think it's essential for ourselves, for our creative well-being, and I think that the reason we like sharing them is because we know for a fact it helps us, and we feel that because of that, it is a support and an insightful way of viewing a mysterious life within this cultural diversity. So,
so we've already been here an hour?
No, we about 45 minutes.
Oh, okay.
We can keep going if you like.
Okay. Let me read a little more of this.
See, look how this just hops right on to the next level. That's so cool. All right, read some more.
This has taken the most of time, and surprisingly enough, this acceptance is actually more important than the vision. This acceptance is what creates the accuracy within time of the vision and how it manifests in my life. I now hold many threads in my hands at one time. Once I could only hold one, but each time I become flexible in weaving, another is then added, each thread requiring its own accuracy and skill.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is just like perfect for right now.
Yeah.
I can now hold and weave with many threads, and the ability to see how the weave moves has become a skill that I have paid much to learn. Attention to the detail of what comes from the weave and the voice that emerges has enabled me to feel adept in all the pattern recognition I need to write the plan held within the cycle of thread and the line of drawn. The sacred within a cycle of thread is the feeling of weave that flows from the current of sound that originates from the source of fiber.
And this why is why it's important to be able to have the time to drop more deeply into your work.
Yeah, because it's always
as
constant.
you all know, it's difficult to just drop into work in little snippets. I mean, we do it. We all do it when we have to, and that's the only way to get that done. But what's delicious is when you have an expanded time where you can really sit into it more deeply, because then you do get what you're talking about here with that thread within the cycle.
And the things you write,
a greater feeling for it.
Intuitively, are they're on the stream, they ride on the thread of time, and so they're constant.
Yeah.
They're always in time. When you pick them up, they will always speak into the cycle of time
and that's
that
so
you are.
important, because if you don't have enough time to feel that, then there's this lostness that happens, this sense of lost. And so it's so nurturing for any of us creatives to be able to have that feeling come to us. It's such a gift.
And we think sometimes, like this piece is called Inside the Plan, and we think sometimes that if we work intuitively, we're just loose. We have no plan. We have no... But we're
Just
in the
blown about. Yes.
true current of what is exactly right now.
Yeah.
And what is exactly right now tomorrow will be what is exactly right now then.
Yeah.
That constancy will build like a fractal. And it'll always be current for you, except that each time you build it into a richer fiber and a stronger constancy of its own subtle energy.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to build with it. It'll be strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like it too.
Thank you. I was just thinking, I used to always have this feeling about being blown about, and the synchronicity of things, but just allowing that to happen. And the metaphor that would come up would be like a little sailboat, and you're just being blown about instead of taking charge and having a certain course made. But that metaphor is a particular one. And then I just saw as some clouds went overhead, moving along, that they don't have a sail and a rudder. They are part of what the wind moves about up in the sky. And they, in this part, they move from west to east for the most part. And it's just, that's an allowing letting go.
Well, I think it's like my father was a pilot, and I grew up with a whole sense of air in my life. And I went to the airport and picked with my mom, and we picked him up and we took him back. And holidays were spent in making gifts for the people that he worked with. And he was a charter pilot and a helicopter pilot, and he taught flying, and then he became a jet pilot. And I think about how much height and air and navigation are a part of my life, and that when one begins to navigate spontaneously, one becomes the sky.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think that that was the biggest thing that he taught me before he did die, was navigation and height, how to work with that kind of expectancy. Yeah.
That's quite a gift.
Yeah.
Not everyone gets that kind of experience, so it's really incredible that was in your life. He was in your life, that this lifetime that was together.
Because it needed to be, because the main thing he wanted me to learn was how to follow the horizon, how to navigate, and then there was also about how to land, and all of it was. I have my totemic is a raven, and ravens are all. It's all about that ability to fly, navigate, to land, to see the big picture, to be a voice, and that's in this time.
That is in this time.
Yeah, it is in this time. It's in this year.
And
even.
Today's that signal of the eagle flying overhead. So we are on track with this unfolding Um, you know, when you live inside your creative life, then you open yourself up to the language of a multitude. We're multimedia artists, and we listen and hear, because we do listen. We hear when things want to move forward, when things want to come into completion or a connection. That includes this material wanting to connect with that material, this idea wanting to match up with that particular media, and we allow all of it to move, because we know there's a companionship,
I like
a
that.
conversation that happens between our materials, our muse, our ideas, us, our embodiment of who we are and what our feelings are, what our emotions are, and then how we express that through the thread of the story.
Well, and we talked the other day about of, the language of actually the language of books,
Yeah.
but in the language of love, that we have to learn to all the different languages of how we love each other.
Mm-hmm.
But also, every time you expand your media, you are expanding what you can connect to, what you can speak to.
Mm-hmm.
You're really expanding your language
Mm-hmm.
of creative love. And so we used to think, well, why didn't we just stay painters? It's lots more.
So much
Oh,
easier.
it's so much easier. Just stay.
Not that it's easy, but
So it's well, we'll just do watercolor. We like watercolor.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll do painting.
that
We'll do
only just
painting.
requires
Yeah.
paper,
Yeah.
watercolor.
And then,
paints
as
and
it kept
brushes.
expanding, well, we didn't have available all the different things we thought we would be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at times we didn't have the paint and the canvas.
Yeah.
So we started painting on wood, and then we started working with fibers and all kinds of things in nature. And it was like we had to, we couldn't just stay with one media and work with advancing our consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So as that was expanding, our media expanded in relationship to our
What we could-
expansion,
yeah.
and vice versa. So
yeah,
we
less
met
racial
each
conflict
other.
under things.
Yeah, we met
Yeah.
each other at a common point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think with the sharing of this, we're hoping to meet at a common point with you.
Yeah.
That these are answering some of your questions, or bringing up questions that you might not have either thought about before,
Or air under your wings.
yes, or
Yeah.
support you within your flight.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We'll be doing another one soon.
Yes, so thank you very much for this. Is listening to The Creative Life with Robert
And Suzanne, clarity.
Clarity. See you next time.